Today we're going to go over 3 different ways to shoot S-log3. If you're a Sony camera user, S-log3 is the best way to maximize the quality of your videos. But it can be a little intimidating. Like, you might see people saying, oh, get a monitor, do all these things, you know, buy my LUT packs or whatever. Say no to buying LUT packs, kids. We're going to teach you how to expose S-log3 without using a fancy monitor, without using special LUTs or some special magic. Everything we're going to be doing is entirely inside the camera, so stay tuned. Before we get into it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, camera comparisons, all that fun stuff. We've also got some potential giveaways coming up, so you'll want to be subscribed for those, and let's just get into it. Okay, so here we are. We're on the normal set that I've been using for the past bunch of videos. Savannah is standing in where I normally am, and I haven't changed the normal lighting setup. I've just added a couple lights to light me shooting Savannah, so you're kind of getting a little behind the scenes. We have an A7C II here as our camera today. It shoots S-log3, as you might suspect, and I'm using the FX3 to shoot this, which is also recording in S-log3. So first thing we need to do is determine if your camera is a good fit for S-log3, and I'm going to show you how to do that. You go to first your file format. Depending on, you know, HD, 4K, or whatever, we're going to shoot in 4K. We shoot everything in 4K. We're going to choose XAVC-S. You can also do it in HS as well. But the most important thing is you're going to go to your record setting here. And what you're looking for is this number here, 422 10-bit. Now, depending on your camera settings, the number before it might be a little bit bigger, it might be a little smaller, it just depends. But the important thing is that 422 10-bit. That just tells us that there's going to be enough color information and a good enough compression that we are going to be able to grade it. Because S-log3 is extremely flat, and if you record in a lower bit rate, say an 8-bit, you just can't stretch it far enough to make it look good. So that's going to be your first and most important clue as to whether or not you can even shoot in S-log3. The first method, and I would say the easiest method, is just simply using the built-in sort of reference LUTs. Now, sometimes, depending on your model of Sony camera, it might say View Assist or something to that effect. First, we're going to go into our camera's settings here, go down to, on the A7C II, it's under the image quality and recording. And you go to log shooting setting, turn it on, and it should be S-Gamma 3 Cine S-log3. We're going to leave the embedded LUT file, we won't worry about that. So now we are in a flat log profile. Now, by default, the A7C II has a preview already built in. So what this is doing is it's actually kind of pre-grading it for us in a way. It's showing you what it might look like if you were to grade it. So we're going to adjust our exposure to kind of what looks good in camera. Now, this is a perfectly fine image, and we're going to go ahead and record this straight to the memory card. Wave to the camera, Savannah. Thank you. Say that like she's a magician's assistant. She's a friend and a coworker. But this image looks good, you know. Her skin tones look fairly natural. The shadows are kind of doing what I want it to be doing. Her sports coat looks black. So that's the beauty about shooting this way and using the View Assist or the kind of built-in LUT, is that once you go home and apply the standard Sony LUT to this footage, this is exactly what it's going to look like. So if it looks bad now, it's going to look bad later. If it looks good now, it'll look good later. But you do lose a little bit of control. And the thing about S-log is it contains way more information in the highlights than it does in the shadows. And these next 2 methods of shooting and exposing are going to help us take advantage of that. So the second one is by using what are called zebras. Not those kinds of zebras, these kinds of zebras. So you go into your menu, you're going to go to the exposure and color, go to zebra display, turn those on, and I've already got some custom ones set up. So the first one we're going to talk about is specifically exposing for skin tones. You can do this a couple of different ways. You can do a standard and then a range. That's typically what I'm doing for skin tones, the standard and then a range, starting at 52, and then I might bring it down to like plus or minus 3. Now that's referring to what's called IRE, and that's just how much light is coming in. It's not super important to understand exactly what those numbers mean, but it is important to understand that when you're just trying to get the perfect skin tones, 52 is going to be great for white people such as myself and Savannah. For dark skin tones, 41 is one that works pretty well, because what we're trying to go for is a healthy look, but also a detailed look, so we're not losing detail in any specific area. All right, now the only problem is right now is that the zebras don't translate into the monitor here that I'm using to record the screen. So I'm gonna bring the camera in real close so you can see what's going on here. As you can see, we've brought the exposure up so that we have zebras on her face. And that's what we're going for. And specifically, the light side of her face. So by exposing for specifically skin tones, what we're doing is we're just prioritizing that. And we will apply our LUT later, and we will make sure we get that perfect skin tone. That's super handy in situations like this, where you know you've got a fairly flat lighting setup and you just want to make sure that the subject's skin tones are going to be perfect. It's also important to kind of go up and not from top down. If you go top down, you may risk overexposing. The beauty of S-log3 though is overexposing usually doesn't hurt it too much, especially on skin tones. You kind of run more into the issue with our next way of exposing. So for our third method, we're gonna prioritize our whites. So let me show you where to go to prioritize the whites. So we're gonna use the zebras again, but instead of using the standard range, 52 plus or minus or so, what we're gonna go down to is instead, we're gonna select lower limit, and we're gonna do 94 plus. And so what that means is anything above 94 IRE, or anything that's too bright, is gonna have zebras on it. That means it is clipped or about to be clipped. And because her shirt is a little bit off-white, I'm actually gonna go and grab a white piece of poster board. So here we are starting over here at 1/16th of a second. Those where the zebras show up, just on that white piece of poster board. And then as we dial back our exposure just a little bit, we get no zebras. Now, 1/25th of a second is not great for video, so we are gonna push it to 1/50th. And this is kind of the beauty of S-log, is that you can do that. And in this particular case, I think we will be just fine. We are recording now, exposing specifically for the whites in the scene. Now again, we kind of fudged it a little bit, but again, that's the beauty of S-log. And we're gonna see how that looks. By doing that, by doing the 94 on your zebras, it ensures that nothing in this scene is clipping. Everything you see here, you're gonna be able to adjust. You can make everything here brighter, darker, whatever you want. That's kind of one of the beauties of shooting in this particular way. This method is really great for anything outdoors. Everything I've ever shot outdoors has been using this method. I just make sure that nothing is clipped. Things like the sun, if the sun is right in the picture, that's gonna be clipped. There's nothing you can do about that. But when you're out and you see like these big, beautiful vistas, I'm gonna show you some footage in the next video when we grade everything that we did outside, at about 10 a.m. So super bright, but you can still see the horizon, you can see the clouds, and you can see all that beautiful stuff. So that's 3 completely unique ways to shooting. Now, really the trick is using all 3 of them to understand how a scene is going to look in post. So this is gonna be the perfect foundation for you to understand how S-log works and how to leverage its strengths and weaknesses to your advantage. All the video footage you've seen shot today was shot using Delkin black cards. Check them out in a link in the description. And stay tuned for part 2 of this video where we go over how to edit this footage and a couple little tricks on how to use the flexibility of S-log to do things you wouldn't be able to do otherwise with normal video. So thanks again for watching, and don't forget to take your camera out today. See you next time. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Oh, we've been going this whole time!